Cleveland. How you doing, bud? Thanks for popping in. I was gonna do all my sanding off camera, and then I decided to screw it. Might as well chat with you guys while I do it, because sanding is boring. So what you got going on today, Cleveland? You got nice warm fishing weather? Hey Hinton, how you doing, bud? Thanks for joining my little half-ass stream here. Ooh, 55 now? It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Yeah, that's gonna be a nice day for you. As long as the wind holds out. Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a great day to fish. Man. Yeah, it was windy here yesterday too. I can only imagine. I think you guys had more wind than we did, but if that's any indication, then that was pretty gnarly. Alright, I'm going to do some sanding here. I want to finish this side up. The other side I'm going to take the belt sander to and get it knocked down quick. Since the other side being pretty isn't really a top priority. Alright, so bear with me a few minutes. I think one more pass with 80 grit and I should have this side fixed up. And then I'll hit it with like 120 or something. It's pine, so I don't have to step down my grit super gradually. Pine sands really fast. Okay, so what I just did there was something that, well, it's not recommended. It's hey Justin, how you doing? Well, it's not recommended, right? I have this knot right here, and it's right on the glue line. So the knots sand slower than the face grain does, right? The knots are harder. So I just had to touch that knot up a little bit to bring that knot down so I could get rid of that last bit of glue mark because there was a hump on this piece and not on this piece. But I got it worked down. It's still a little bit proud, but that's better than having a depression there. So thanks Justin's Woodwork for popping in. I appreciate it. We're just kind of putzing around today, doing making some chintzy little table just because I want to see what the colors look like. All right, so like I said last night is I just went left to right. Now I think that's my last pass. I don't see any real glue lines or anything, or glue marks, pencil marks, anything like that. So now I'll do another quick pass going this way, right, front to back, and then I'll flip it over. I'll break out the belt sander. I'll knock that side down, and we'll do rough or final sanding on stuff. We'll knock the sanding down. We're not going to do final sanding because I still want to cut it to size and route it. Hey Tom, how you doing, bud? Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. So bear with me a few more minutes. Put some more lines on here just so I don't miss anything. That should be good enough. All right. There we go. Good morning, Nokia. How you doing? Zyro, how you doing? Thanks for popping in, guys. Hi, Coffee. RP. I know last night I said I was going to save you guys the boredom of watching me sand, but I decided that it's really boring, and I might as well be able to talk to you guys. So there we go. There is my top sanded to 80 grit. Now, like I said last night, these knots, they do stick a little proud. You can feel every one of them. They take, they're harder, so they take longer to sand. But I'm not overly concerned about that. It's a pine tabletop, so you get what you get. Now what I want to do is I want to hit this side with the belt sander. I'm going to knock it down real fast. And then I'll hit it with some 80 grit to knock out some of the sand marks. Probably hit it with 120 after that. Then we'll flip it over. That'll be probably all the sanding that gets done here. We'll flip it over and work on our face. And then we'll take it to the table saw, get it cut down to size, run the router around it, do our final sanding, and then stain it. And then, a few minutes after that, we'll bolt it to that table over there. And then we can work on the bottom shelf. Which should be super easy because we're not doing any glue up on that. We're just going to break it down, slap it in, drop a couple brad nails in it, call it a day. Let's put you guys down here so you can actually see what's going on, maybe. A belt sander is, it's super rough. Okay, like a belt sander, you can take a lot of material away very quickly. Alright, so I'm going to keep that in mind. And it doesn't matter if it's 80 grit, 60 grit, 220 grit paper. You can still, even with 220 grit, I can pull a lot of material away with a belt sander. And I can get lines. If I allow it to tilt or dip in, I can get some pretty gnarly marks in the surface. So you want to keep it flat. I don't know how I wrap this cord up on here like this. These are little rubber cleaning blocks from PowerTech. I got them on Amazon, right? You can get a bunch of them. They're really good for cleaning off sandpaper. Very nice and clean. It doesn't make it any sharper. It just cleans out, sandpaper. It doesn't get any sharper. It just cleans out the debris that may be stuck in it. All right. So like I said, we're gonna hit this with the belt sander and knock it down real fast because this side's gonna be hidden, so it doesn't need the amount of care and attention that the face will have or will need. So let me put my mask back on because it's going to throw a lot of dust, even though it's got a bag. what I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to sand this again. I think what I'm going to do is oh no, I have to. Oh man, that's all bad. I got to do it again. Alright, we'll go this way with it. Better. Not ideal, but it's better. So, I gotta say, a belt sander is a roughing tool. That's basically it. You're not gonna use it for fine finish work. If you don't keep it flat, you let it tilt one side or another, you'll get gouges in your material. If your plate under here has anything built up on it, which I think mine does, you'll get gouges in your material. But see what you guys are talking about. Good morning, STL. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for popping in. Yes, coffee, definitely am, and good on you for getting that many views. That's awesome, buddy. Congratulations. Oh, nuts. Alright. So I'm going to hit this with some 80 grit just so I feel better about myself. Knock out some of these sanding lines. you guys got planned for your Sunday? Hope you guys got a lot of good fun planned here. We got cold weather here, so I don't have a whole lot going on. By the way, these base camp masks, right? For base camp, you get them on Amazon. They're cheap as hell. They got a little like carbon filter, the replaceable carbon filter put in there. They're nice masks. I know you guys don't see me use a mask very often, but that's the mask that I use. If I'm doing things that are going to create a ton of dust, I'm going to use that. So I'm going to use this as a demonstration piece. So this is sanded to 80 grit, right? And you can see that there's still some glue marks on it. Okay. This is going to be the bottom side of the table, and it's going to go to a friend, so and get used as a utility table. So I'm not overly concerned about the bottom. Normally, I would get rid of all the glue marks, and I would sand it to at least 120, maybe 150. All right, and it would get stained the same as the face, but the face would get finished to 220, maybe 320. But what we're gonna do is, this is the face, so this is the side that will get the most attention. All right, this is the side that will get finished sanded. But before we do that, we're going to cut it down to size. We're going to square it up, and we're going to run our router around it and do that. That way we get rid of all those marks on this surface, and then we'll have to obviously hit the edges to get rid of sanding marks and things like that. All right. So, Steph, you made a good time getting to the airport. I thought for sure you would have ran into typical Peach Street traffic. I need to get a mask for my beer. Hey SMWC, how you doing, buddy? I'm doing good. Just a chilly Sunday hanging out in the shop with you guys. I'm only going to keep this going until probably about noon, because then I'm going to switch over to my sip and chill kind of horizontal stream where we just shoot the breeze. But hey Matthew, how you doing? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Appreciate it. How'd you do at the casino, man? Alright, so I need to get this squared up, so I need to break out the table saw. Also, I came up with a really cool idea for that walnut slab piece that I have to make a table. Let's see if I can articulate it to you guys later, or I might just keep it as a surprise. Oh, the casino's today. Oh, okay. Alright. Well, good luck, buddy. Alright. So we need to square this up. And I can use my sled. Awesome. 18.5 by 21. So I can take this down to 20.5. That'll give me 1 inch overhang. And I can take this down to 23, which will give me a 1 inch overhang. I think that'll be plenty to work with. Oh, you went through McCain. Alright, well that makes sense to avoid that Peach Street nonsense. Ah, Matthew, yep. Definitely need a shot before you go lose money. I forgot what I said I was going to cut this down to. I can go down to as far as 23. Alright, let's get a straight edge on this. Go. Don't need the sled no more. Because now good. Unless I royally screwed that up, that should be 23. Yep. Gives me 1 inch overhang on both sides. That edge is straight enough for me to follow. That one's better. 19.5, 20.5. Okay. is our tabletop. Cut down the sides. Hey, Makers Murphy, how you doing, bud? Thanks for popping in. Retouch on. What is retouch? No, I don't want that. What did I do? Oh God. Okay. Good morning, Rick. How you doing? All right, so if my measurements are correct, and I have no reason to believe that they're not, except for I've made wrong measurements before, this should fit perfectly on here. And it does. Great. Smack a finger and I flip that table up. Hey. Start the wood scrap bin all over again. Alright, we're done with the table saw. Now we're going to fire up the router. Oh, the router. Probably do the trim router for this. Let's see. Well, I'll do a round over on the base, on the underside. Or I could do a 45 on the underside, a little chamfer. You know what? I kind of like that. We'll do a 45 chamfer on the bottom side. Let's see. I did order some. Amazon has a Freud bit set. So I ordered a bit set from Freud, even though I'm of the opinion that a router bit is a router bit. They're all going to go dull. They're all going to cake up with schmutz that you got to clean off. You know what? I kind of want to do the cove and bead around the top, just to give it a little bit of a decorative edge. I don't think I've used this one very often. Actually, I think the only time I've used this was on someone's signboard. We're going to use it on this. And then I need the 45 for the bottom. So when you guys play with router bits, remember they're made to be in the chuck, right? So I almost broke that one. So you've got this nice clean spot and then this black line on this particular bit. The more of this little 1/4 inch shank that's sticking up, like if I clamp it here, that 1/4 inch shank is now liable to bend. Right? But if I clamp it here, there's a whole lot less bending going on. Right? So, I mean, I know that sometimes you just need that extra little bit. But when you do that kind of stuff, you gotta be paying attention. You have to, yeah, you have to pay attention. The router bit bends, and that thing comes back and starts swinging around wildly. There's some shit that can go wrong real quick. So, I personally will stick it all the way up to the painted line. I won't clamp that painted line. I'll clamp just below that painted line. Makers Murphy, that's exactly my thing. Editing sucks. Takes so much time. I don't have a knack for it. But I'll definitely pop in and sub to your channel and check you out. Make more money on Friday. Alright, let's do this route. I think I'm going to do it about there. Let's see how she turns out. Worst case, it's only wood. So. Um, I know it's popular opinion that roundovers and 45s are pretty much the only edge treatment, corner treatments you need. I highly suggest you guys go out, play with different bit styles, right? Like, because stuff like that, sure, it might look more old fashioned or whatever, but a roundover or a bevel cut is freaking boring. There's a lot of things that you can do, with a simple router bit to change the way a project looks. Okay. Um, Granted, they might not, it might not look the greatest, but something like even as simple as a Roman OG, can change the entire project. Right? Just don't lock yourself into roundovers and bevel cuts. There's a whole world of router bits out there, and they make them for a reason. Use them. Find ones that you like. Find ones that your customers like. Ones that make your project look more sophisticated. We talked about that last night. Females, at least in my experience, they tend to buy things that look a little more sophisticated. And men tend to buy things that look more simple and rustic. At least in my experience. Your results may vary, but we're going to do a bevel, a 45 with a 45 router bit. We're going to do a bevel on the other side. And then we're going to just kind of look at it. Now, granted, I got to do some sanding, right? Trim up the nonsense, but the little fuzzies that happen, but all right. Yeah, just don't lock yourself in. There's a world of creativity out there that you can utilize. So, if you're making something that's super simplistic, you just want to add a little bit of a shadow line underneath it, you know, something. You know, a bevel is great. If you're trying to decorate something up a little bit, this kind of a fanciful router bit can be leaps and bounds. I don't know, better, I guess. Alright, now what we gotta do, we gotta hit it with the final sanding. And then we can stain it. So let me eyeball chat here for a minute, take a break for a second. With battery powered trim routers. Yeah, they are nice. They are nice, Murphy. I've got my bigger plunge router one over here too. The DeWalt one right there in the yellow box. And I think it's great. Now in my little chintzy router table here, my Cobalt table, which I don't have a problem with. It's just got a 1-speed router in it. That one's corded. So when I do like flattening, if I got to flatten something that's big, I'll pull that router out of there, put the jig in that, the bit in that, and use that. But I love the cordless trim routers. Hey Ricker, how you doing, bud? Thanks for popping in, man. So, yeah, a little bit of sanding, and we'll be done with this. Now, where the decorative router trims do create a problem is trying to sand in that profile. But they do make sanding blocks that are specific for things like that. Or, you know, you can use things like... Hang on, let me find it here. I have used things like a socket that fits in a whatever size socket I need with the sandpaper to fit in something like a juice groove, or if it has the curve that I want for the upper edge, put a piece of sandpaper on it, run that thing back and forth. Now you've got something to keep your curve, right? That's what it's all about, is keeping the shape. You don't want to hit it with a power sander and blow the shape out of it. Unless you don't like the shape. The flapper sanding wheel. I have never used one for that. I just assumed that it would be super aggressive. I might be wrong. Well, awesome, Ricker. I'm glad I popped up on the feed. Apparently, I'm just not interesting enough for people to watch. Which is fine. I don't really care. We were just talking about how, you know, one of these profile bits can elevate your project to a whole different level than, you know, just a simple round over. Oh, not on all situations, but a little drum sander kit. Listen to me as you work on your pickle. Nice. Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, it's not in all situations, but this bearing on the top of this thing is tight. But I guess that's what you get when you buy a cheap Chinese skill saw or skill bit set. You get cheap bearings. Yeah, I don't get a whole lot of live notifications either, Ricker. even when I'm on this channel, I don't know when anybody goes live. Like every time I catch Runic live, he emails me and lets me know that he's going live or that he posted a. If they post a like a premiere thing, and I click the notify me button, I'll get that. But I don't usually get a just a random pop up, except for um, Bearded Viking. His will pop up, but you know he's got 100,000 subscribers or whatever, so of course they want to push that video. Yeah. So these are skill. They're a skill set that I have, and I've been using them for years. Um, I do have other bits from like Bits and Bits and other stuff that I use one bit so often that I need to make sure I have a good quality one. But for ones like this, I think I've used this twice. This particular bit twice. Um, I generally will go with the. Maybe I've used it 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure. I'll generally do the Roman OG. I like that shape. Ever since switching to a channel account, you lost your sidebar. Yeah, I very rarely watch YouTube on the computer. And when I do, it's usually to put somebody up so that I can just play their videos so they get watch hours. Um, I usually just watch on the phone. Because that's convenient. And then I can, if I want to interact, it's easy to type. I don't have to switch screens from, what I'm doing. But, yeah. So I'm gonna look into those little. I do have a Dremel with those little tiny sanding drum things. But I always just grab a socket or a pencil or something that fits in there and sand away. Now on this particular one, I probably won't because I don't much care. It's a junk table. It's not ever going to be anything. It's never going to be anything fancy. It's just I want to see how the color combo works. And then somebody's going to put a fridge on it. A mini fridge on it. But let me switch out paper. We no longer need 80 grit. I don't even need 80 grit for the side sander that I have to do. So now, after I'm done knocking everything down with the first sanding, I do the pencil marks. I don't usually use the pencil anytime after that. I'm not saying you can't. I just don't see any usefulness out of it. Oh, nice, Ricker. Thanks for that. I'll definitely check that out. 42 minutes till boarding time. All right, we'll see if I can get this thing started for you. Since you're the one that's going to throw a TV on it or whatever. So all I'm trying to do is you're basically getting rid of the 80 grit sand marks. That's it. I mean, once those sanding marks are gone, you're pretty well done and ready to move on to the next grit. At least in my opinion. Now, will I still sand things multiple times, do multiple passes with? Yeah, absolutely. But I think you're really done with it once you get rid of the sanding marks from the prior sand. Because then there's not really a whole lot more that you can do with that grit. Alright, so I'm going to hit these edges, get rid of the bearing mark and any saw marks. And then I might hit the top one more time just to make sure I didn't miss any 80 grit sanding marks. What's up, John C? What's up, Trudge? How you guys doing? Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. I appreciate that, Trudge. Alright, I'm going to hit this one more time just to make sure I didn't miss any 80 grits, because the more you step down the grit or step up the grit, however you want to look at it, the harder it's going to be to get rid of the marks from the prior grit that you used. Right? So if I miss any now, and I don't see it until I'm doing, 220 or whatever, then it's going to be more difficult to remove it on anything other than pine, really. Because pine, I could probably just jump right to 320, sand it 3 times, and be done, because pine is super soft. Alright? But it's good practice to fully sand something before you move on to the next grit. Now, as we showed last night, when you do the pencil marks, you go about, so you want to sand it about 1 inch per second, maybe an inch and a half per second, right? And that will take out all the pencil marks. So if it's going to take off all the pencil marks in one pass, it's going to take off all those prior sander marks. You know what I mean? Yes, makers, that's what I do on my first sanding, when I'm doing my first grit, which was 80 grit in this case. And then, oh, gotcha. I sand so much that I don't tend to forget. And I mean, on things like this, if I'm doing something really big, then I'll definitely do it still. But, and I also overlap about 50% to the next, right? So, you know, if I'm here, then I'm going to sand here. And that way I know that I'm not missing anything. Yeah. Now, there's nothing saying that you can't do the pencil trick. Like I said, I still do it on bigger things, like when I'm doing, you know, coffee table style stuff and bigger. I'll still do it because I'll get distracted and I'll look over here, or I'll do something and then I'll skip a spot and not realize it. That was 120. Now, if this was anything other than pine wood, I wouldn't jump to 220. But because pine is so soft, it takes no time at all to sand. It affords you the opportunity to jump grits more. Normally, I'd say you could skip one grit. You know, you could go from 80 to 150 and then skip 120. But I wouldn't recommend jumping 100 grits to on anything, any hardwoods really. But let's sand this again. You guys give me just 1 second. Sorry about that. People just continuously call. Well, you didn't answer the first 7 times I called? Let me call you again. Alright. I'll be right back. I got to, yeah, definitely, that old pine is definitely more of a hardwood, that's for sure. This is white pine. This is like probably as soft as a pine as you can get. Now, yellow pine, which is what the base is made out of, that is almost as hard as cherry. So I would term that more of a hardwood. No, it wasn't you this time, Steph. No. People who want to borrow my truck. Alright, so I'm going to be right back. I'm going to run my keys out to my truck, and then I'll be back on. So give me a sec. Alright, I'm back. Alright, everyone's your friend when you got a truck. Yeah, I agree, Ricker. I mean, that's white pine, and I think it looks good. Now, can it look better? Yeah, I could have chosen better pieces, but I've made my coffee table in the house is pine. It's a nice big pine top, and I chose those pieces carefully, and I think it looks great. And cedar, I think cedar is one of the more beautiful woods. Hi, friend, you need a truck May 3rd? Of course you do. Oh, let me shoot that text. Tell him the key's on the bed. Don't come in the... Sorry, guys. All right. And maybe some muscle. Well, I don't know if I can help you with that. So what I do with my cedar is I send it through the planer. So I shoot it through the planer, right? Because I like fence pickets. They're cheap, easy cedar to work with. So, it looks like this when you get it, right? Kind of looks like garbage. Wouldn't want to build anything out of that. And you trip through the planer, and it looks like this. Nice and smooth. Don't even really have to sand it after that. Just work with it. And you can see, like, it's got this nifty... Try to get it so it shows up. It's got this nifty, like, X pattern going on up here that actually travels down through. Can't get it to show up very well, but you can see bits and pieces of it. No. No, I would not trust you with my truck. No. You can't drive a car. You want to drive a thing that's twice the size of a car? Yeah, I'm very possessive of my truck. I know this is going to sound horrible, but I don't generally let women drive my truck. It's not a sex thing. It's just they drive cars, and then getting into a truck is a whole different world. Unless they drive trucks already. No, I'll drive it. I'll drive the truck. You provide the muscle, I'll provide the truck. Yeah, Ricker, that's what a lot of people do. Around me, so that's one of the things that I use if I'm going to sell any fence picket planer boxes, is I run it through the planer, right? Because I have one, so it's easy. But a lot of people, they're just, you get that with another one butted right up against it. So there's the difference in quality, or I guess in appearance. It's the same piece of wood. It's just looks better. And then I don't butt pieces up. I don't do that. I do strips with like a 1/4 inch gap, and then another strip. I don't market them, but I've got people that actually come to me and want them. So. No. I mean, it can be. But anyway, so this is nice and smooth. I'm going to run the 220 across the edges and make them smooth too, but then we're going to grab some stain and we're going to go ham on it. Yeah, that's exactly it, Ricker. I can't compete with the 12-year-old or the retired grandpa down the street who are making them for next to nothing. I can't compete with that, so I don't even try. The ones that I do are different. They're, like the raised box that I made the other day or the other week, and then do another one with a cooler in it. you know, things like that. Until people start to copy it, I'll be able to profit off of those. But once people start to copy it, it'll shoot downhill real quick, and then I'll move on to something else. I'm sure you do, Beck. I'm sure you do. But that's the sad reality of. Well, I mean, if you type fence picket planter or cedar planter into YouTube search, you're gonna get what, like 7 million results. Um, that's millions and millions of people watching the same videos to make the same thing. Odds are the people next door to you have watched that same video of how that guy made $1 million off of it, and they're gonna try to make their money off of it. They're super simple to make. Yeah, it's a copycat industry for sure. So you have to make a name for yourself, because there's always going to be 1,000 other people out there who try to copy your designs. So you've got to make something different, and you've got to make something better. And then the price point generally doesn't matter. There's always going to be those people. You know, we live in a disposable environment, right? Where everybody wants the cheapest thing possible, but they want the best looking thing that they can get, right? And you know, the age of Amazon and Facebook Marketplace, right? So I mean, it is what it is. It's the world we live in. There's enough people out there who are good enough to put two boards together that once they see a design, they're going to copy it. Whether they do it well or not, it doesn't matter. It's already going to hurt your sales, because now there's a cheaper option. Whether it's good quality or not, they don't care. Now, the flip side of that is, if I make this table, right, and nobody else is making this table, and I post them up for sale, and then, you know, I get a bunch of business, and then other people decide that they're going to copy it, and they're going to make this table too, and they make a shitty version of it, sure, I'm gonna lose some of my customers, my potential customers, go to that cheaper table, right? But I'm gonna lose more customers if that cheaper table is garbage, right? Because those people are gonna tell people, and they're not gonna say, hey, I bought it from Jimmy Bob over here on the corner, not this guy who's selling it with a business name. They're going to go, hey, I bought that table. That's the one that, you know, fell apart, or the kid broke its arm on, or whatever. But yeah, definitely trying to match prices is definitely not worth it. And trying to get into unless you're in a market that can support it, trying to get into those can't keep them in stock, gimmicky YouTube videos, they're usually pretty much a waste of time, because odds are everybody in your neighborhood that has a saw watched the same video you did, and they're the same people that are selling planter boxes for $10, right? Because what do they care? They got $2 profit out of it, or $2 more than the boards cost. They're good. You know, they're doing it for fun or whatever. Yeah, Ricker, it's better to do a video that nobody's making, or do something that's different than everybody else is doing. Like, you could make a planter box video, and, you know, I might make my style planter box. I might make a video on it, but then I'm going to have 100 billion people watching that video or copying that video, and they'll no longer be able to make that planter box style. But if you do something that's different, you know, you put your own spin on it, as Bearded Viking would say. Then it's a totally different thing, right, for a video. But I don't. In my area, I've got, like, if I hop on Marketplace right now, I bet you I could find probably 50 planter boxes for sale within 20 miles of me. And every one of them, with the exception of one, will be garbage. And that one that's not garbage is going to be made by, and dirt cheap. They're going to be just two boards stuck together and called it a day. The one that's going to be good is going to also be dirt cheap, but it's going to be planed, and he's going to throw a laser engraved monogram or something on it. So he's going above and beyond, you know, doing, you know, you got a surface board, you've got laser engraving on it, right? But he is still below where I would want to be on my pricing for the same thing. So it's not worth me competing. Cool idea you got from Jasco. Put a spin on. Nobody around me is making yet. Hell yeah, that's the way to go. That is how I have made every single planter box sale. I built a set for me, or I built a set for a friend, or whatever. I wanted to test out the design. I built a prototype, give it away, and next thing you know, I've got people calling me or messaging me on Facebook or shooting me emails. Hey, I seen this planter box that this person has. They said you make it. I'll buy 2 or 4 or whatever. Yeah, but the one that Viking did was a baby one, wasn't it? It was just a little tiny thing. I've made some of the bigger wishing wells. I didn't use cedar wood. I used, you know, actual wood, but I kind of want to make one out of cedar. But I've sold, oh, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 of those things. Now, I don't market them. You know, I think I took pictures of the first one I made and sent it off to people, and I got orders for it. Rigger, I think this entire industry is about copying each other. I don't think there's one single person out here in this YouTube woodworking world that is doing something original. I really don't. You got planter boxes. A planter box is a planter box is a planter box. Doesn't matter what the design is, the function is the same. Right? That's like saying my mini notebook is way different than my full-size notebook. Like, a planter box is a planter box. These farmhouse tables and coffee tables and things, they're all the same. It's just, what are you going to do to make it different from that person's? You know, like that's how I look at it. There's not really any original ideas left. You know, the candle holders that everybody makes, some people make them round, some people make them square, some people do tier designs. I made a bunch of them out of just a branch. Cut the branch off, left the bark on, threw it in the oven for a couple hours to make sure it was dry and there was nothing alive in it. Sold a bunch of those at a show for like $5 a piece. They just had a Forstner bit notch in the top and a tea light candle in there, one of the battery powered ones. glitter it. That's how you make it different. Yeah, that works. Like this. So these Christmas trees, and I only use them because they're sitting right here. This is something that I've seen probably 1,000 videos on. The only thing I didn't see is people doing the star, right? And people using cedar wood. I use cedar because I think it looks better. It's a nicer looking wood. I don't know. There's probably 1,000 videos out there on making those things. The new DeWalt router? Are you talking the 20-volt plunge router? It can be yours. Throw some glitter on the tree and be spectacular. Yeah, are you talking about the 20-volt plunge router? DC 620? Hey, Mason, how you doing? I think that's what this one is right here. Yeah, DC 620B. I like it. I think it's great. I don't use it near often enough to, recommend it to people, but the times that I've used it, I haven't had any issues with it. It's got great dust collection. It's got slow start. It's got braking for stopping. Toss the glitter in the router too. I ain't doing that. What's the matter with you? I mean, it's a DeWalt tool. DeWalt's a good brand, in my opinion. So, I like it. If that one died and I had to buy another one, I'd buy the same one. Rock's probably full of man glitter. Yeah. Bedazzle all my tools? I don't think so. All right, let me hit these edges here so I can get this stained. All right. Don't get it. fuck's sake. Hang on, I'll be right back. Apparently people are too fucking stupid to find my key that I left on the truck. For the love of Pete. Alright, let's see how my battery's at. Throw it on the charger. Where's my charger? Alright, so what I'm going to do is now, because I'm going to do some staining and whatnot, is I'm going to run the vacuum and I'm going to vacuum up all the dust. Even though it's a junky table, might as well make it look pretty. Okay. You got wipers again? Awesome. Yes, I'm possessive of my shop. Why wouldn't I be? Alright, so I'm going to run the vacuum up all this sawdust. Oh, I got a cord here somewhere. Give me a second. Sounds like they found the key. Alright. Elegant Woodcraft and a bedazzled Woodcraft. Yeah. Over a bit on the outer edge of the top. Yeah. Alright, now. I used to have 4 of these. But I guess I'll just use 3. All right. We're going to use an oil finish. Minwax Poly Shades Bombay Mahogany. Pink bedazzled hat. No. No. Why do you hate me, Ricker? Why? Your router doesn't come with dust collection, but it's in the basement collecting dust? I mean... Look, Beck, if you want a hat, I've got black ones and I've got camo ones. I'll give you one. You can bedazzle it all you like. I'm not wearing it, but you can do whatever you like. You're not real sure? Let's see. It says to put it on with a brush, but I don't want to. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it without the pre-stain on the bottom here, because I want to see what it's going to look like. Just think it'd be cute in a pink bedazzled hat. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. And I know you do, Beck. I know. Oh, goodness. Well, that just fucking soaked right into that paper towel, didn't it? Ouch, shit. Fucked it. I know the poly shades, because it has poly built into it. It says to do a thin coat with the wood grain, but do that when we get to the top. I probably should have used gloves. So this is just the bottom. This says mainly, just because. And also, I'm going to show you guys what happens to stain when there's glue on the surface. Because remember, this side I did not do anything more than 80 grit to. And there's no pre-stain conditioner on this side. There's Bombay Mahogany Poly Shades Oil Base Finish. What's up, Runic? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I have some. I have some, Ricker. Or I have at least one left. I don't know where they are. They were over there next to my stand, my little bench over there. And then I moved them. Now I don't know where I moved them to. I'll find them eventually. I also should have put gloves on. But, you know, here we are. Yeah, I like them for doing, I use them for shellac a lot too. If I'm doing wipe on shellacks. But lately I've been spraying shellac. Doing my logo in wood and flag. Really, you're pretty confident there, Beck. All right. So, I don't know if you guys can see it, but right here is a light stripe, and right here is a light stripe. That's wood. There's also sanding marks here that go across the grain, and here that go across the grain. That's from the belt sander where I let it tip a little bit. Now, granted, that's the bottom, so it doesn't really matter. Now, in terms of wood pre-stained conditioner, yeah, I like boiled linseed oil and paste wax. I don't use boiled linseed oil near as much as I should, but it's not a bad finish. And then paste wax, I like it because I can get a nice gloss out of it. Now, in terms of preconditioner, I'm not really sure that it's necessary. But I'll put the preconditioner on the other side, and we'll compare the two and see what they look like. Like, it's preconditioner is great. Don't get me wrong. But it is not always a requirement. Yeah, I don't use it very often at all. In fact, I had to pick up a new can just to conduct this experiment. Well, just to do this. Like, they tell you, like, this is what it looks like before you use it. Oh, this is for water-based. Well, can't use it on this anyway. And then this is what it looks like after you use it. Mine doesn't look like either of those. Yeah, this I got water-based because I got water-based ebony dye or ebony stain over here. So that's not even going to work for this because this is oil-based. So, oh well. No preconditioner involved. I can honestly say that I have never seen any real need to use a preconditioner. Like, sure, if you're doing pine and you have that cathedral grain, right, and you've got that hard grain up, it doesn't absorb near as much. Just don't build that way. Like you have the ability to not do that. I don't know why. I mean, I guess if you don't have a choice, then the conditioner could work, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have the right use case for it. Oh, hey, I've got a pad over here. Dun dun dun! Baba. It's a very large pad, but I'm going to use it. All right, let's get the top of this thing done so then I can go in, snag a bite to eat, and in fact, I'll probably eat oatmeal because oatmeal is life. And again, I walked over there, didn't bother to grab my gloves. Though I gotta be honest, I don't like using this pad with this stuff. Maybe because it's got poly in it. It also gives me a lot of air bubbles. I'm going to go over it with a paper towel anyway. But it definitely makes application easier. Don't fucking dry all goofy on me. So I get that wiped off. Now I'm gonna poly coat this anyway, so I'm not overly concerned about the poly portion of this stain. In fact, if I'm being honest, I didn't even realize it was a poly one. shit all over my hands again. And I got stain all over my table. I didn't put down a mat. Yeah. Yeah, Michael, it's well, it's going to be a little, there's going to be a refrigerator sitting on it for now, and then it's going to go sit out in the shed and get used for just a utility table. I just wanted to see what it looked like with this finish on black. See if that's too much dark or whatnot. No naked people were arrested. So, now, it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to end this live. All I have to do, I have to let this dry, and then I've got to do the poly coating on it. But, I'm going to end this live. I'm going to go to the bathroom and grab a sandwich, and then I'll be back out for my sip and chill live, and I'm going to try to clean this stain off my hands. It looks like I murdered something. Send me some pictures of it, Michael. I'd be happy to. Ah, it's so sticky. All right, guys. No, I'm not getting a sandwich in the bathroom. No. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then I'm going to get a sandwich. Or I'm really hungry, so I might grab a sandwich first. Who knows? So, all right, guys. I will be back out here in, I don't know, probably 15 minutes. And we'll do the sip and chill live. And we'll see how that goes. All right, guys. So So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. I appreciate it. And I will see you in about 15-ish minutes. I know, I'm sorry. All right, guys.